분께서 발표해 주시겠습니다. 큰 박수로 맞이해주시기 바랍니다.
Thank you. So I'm Will Smith. I'm the CEO of Euclid. And at Euclid, what we're trying to do is basically what Google and Amazon have been doing online for years, which is making a better shopping experience through data. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things. First is about this explosion of location data that is occurring right now, and then how we can take that data set and turn it into actionable insights that retailers, location and venue owners can actually monetize. I think another thing we want to talk about is that while big data can be a very intimidating topic, it can actually be very simple and straightforward as well. That's a lot of what Euclid is about. You don't need a PhD in physics to be able to leverage Euclid. It's a very simple way to apply data. And when done right, it can really help drive a better customer experience and also improve the store performance. So this is just a quick snapshot of smartphone penetration in the United States, and I think it's actually higher in Seoul. But what is really exciting here is, as smartphone penetration increases, the data set that accompanies the data set grows in conjunction. And as we get this data set, we can start to answer questions that were previously unanswerable. Questions like, are my lines too long? Or when do I have lines? Is my marketing working? Do I have enough sales associates on the floor? And these are all very simple, but also very fundamental questions that previously there just wasn't the data to answer. And so at Euclid, what we try to do is build a software platform where we have software running on the Wi-Fi that's sitting in the store. And with that software, we can essentially count phones and start to understand things like how many people are in the store, how many people are walking by, and how long are they staying. We give all this data to the retailer in an online dashboard. We've been doing it for about 4 years. We are based in San Francisco, but our network is global. We've raised about $25 million, and we're the first to kind of get into this Wi-Fi analytics space. I came to it from a retail background. My family was in shopping center development, and my co-founder was the head of web analytics at Google. And he really wanted to create the same sort of product that he had online for the physical world. And as we started to look at the problem, one thing that really stood out to us was how little data there was in the store. If you were Apple retail, you were the most advanced retailer, you were lucky if you had a traffic counter, which is basically a camera at the top of above the door that counts pixels as people walk in, and then you have your sales data. And this is a very flat data set. You can't slice and dice it. There's no unique ID. And so most retailers and venue owners were actually flying pretty much blind. And so we tried to figure out how can we start to bridge that gap? How can we start to answer, how are you attracting customers into your stores? What's happening once they get in there? And how can you get customers to come back time and time again? And so what we set out to do was really build, the same sort of thing you have, in the same way that you have a click stream online, we want to make a foot stream offline. So, basically that same funnel that you use to optimize your website, we want to give you a funnel that you can optimize your store. And so we basically look at it in 3 buckets. We want to be able to understand how do you attract customers to your store, how do you engage them, and then how do you get them to come back time and time again and finally purchase. And our metrics basically break down into these buckets. We have the outside opportunity, the walk-bys, the visitors, the storefront conversions, which will tell you, how your windows are performing and how your storefront is actually effectively converting the traffic that's going by. Duration, and within duration we'll tell you how many people come in for 5 minutes and then leave, and then also how many people stay for 25 minutes and are really engaged. For retention, we look at how many are new customers, how many are repeat visitors, but we can also look at, how many customers visit 5 times or more, how many customers visit only once. And we can do all of this without any new hardware, without running any wires. It's all software. So we've done integrations with every major Wi-Fi vendor so that you can turn on the software with just a flick of a switch. On top of that, we have a free product which makes it a no-brainer to get started, starting to quantify your location. So this is probably the most interesting thing to me. I think what's really cool about Euclid is that you get to pull in other contextual data. So in addition to our Wi-Fi analytics, we've started to pull in traffic data, point of sale data, labor data, marketing data. And as we look at our metrics in that context, the power of what we can provide a retailer actually really increases. And I think one of the ways that it increases in the most interesting way is that we can actually flex some of our data science muscles that the retailers don't have. We can start to get closer to the answer for them. So for instance, we built a revenue attribution tool where we pull in all of the sales data for the retailer. And then we run the correlations and see what are the key drivers of sales for every single store on any given day. And after we've done that, we can start to say, okay, you should focus on, the retailer should focus for this subset of their stores on engagement because that's the key driver, or they should focus on frequency for this subset of their stores because that's the key driver. And this is something that the retailer can do on their own, but most of our customers don't have a team that's technically capable of actually doing it. So by providing the system, we're actually letting them get closer to the answer without having to have a huge analytics team. We have 3 main customer types. The primary use is probably marketing. We sell to the marketers who really want to understand if their marketing is effective or not. So they'll check to see if they run a campaign. Are people coming in for the first time, or were they already loyal visitors? And if it's a promotion, can they get them to come back time and time again, or do they just come in for the promotion and never return? For the operations, it's really looking at labor primarily. So if what changes can they make to their labor schedule to make sure that lines are short, service is excellent. And the metrics that really drive this for us are looking at engagement, how long are people staying, and trying to optimize that, and then looking at frequency, because if you have a good experience from a customer service perspective, you'll come back again. Finally, on the executive side, it's a really interesting tool to understand how you're doing relative to your peers. So we have tens of thousands of these sensors out across the United States and across the world, and we can start to say, okay, you have a bounce rate, which is how many people come in for 5 minutes or less, that is higher than your peers, or you have a bounce rate that is lower than your peers. On top of that, it gives them a strategic tool where they can look at the behavior of their entire chain in one easy-to-understand dashboard. So this is just a quick view of the product. It allows you to compare locations, to select any metric. You can slice and dice it 100 different ways. We can roll the data up based on the hierarchy that the location provides us. So if you want to do it by region, if you want to roll it up by concept, it's very easy to do that. This is, I think, one of the most popular views of the product where you can actually see you can look at the whole chain really, really quickly. So this is what we call the leaders and laggards board, where we'll show what are the top performing locations on any given day by our metrics, and what are the bottom performing locations on any given day for our metrics. And what's really neat here is it's used in a very simple way. The retailer will call up their top performing stores and say, what are you doing so well? How can I take your best practices and spread them across my whole chain? And then they'll call up their bottom performing stores And sometimes it's less productive, sometimes they're just, they just bang on their bottom performing stores. But a lot of times actually they're saying, what happened today that made performance be so low, and how can we fix it for tomorrow so that it's better? Additionally, we have a couple of tools that the retailers use during the day to try and make sure that they're performing well. This is a queuing tool where the retailer can start to say, how long are my lines? And they can set a threshold of what they think is an acceptable wait time. And if they go above that threshold, we'll send a notification to the retailer saying, lines at this location are particularly long right now, and you might want to make some changes. Most of our customers want to see our data next to their key